consciousness, the Tao, and the interface of reality. Today, we're diving into a pretty hardcore topic, a question that has puzzled philosophers and spiritual seekers for thousands of years. Across cultures and traditions, people have asked the same question. What is reality really made of? Before we go any further, I want to say something important. The ideas we're about to explore in this video are not something you come across every day. And if this video happened to show up on your screen, maybe it's not just an accident. Maybe something deeper in you, a quiet curiosity, or even a subtle awakening, is pushing you to look beyond the limits of the way you've always understood reality. So take a moment, slow down, and try to watch this video all the way to the end, because what we're about to explore may shift the way you think about consciousness, reality, and even your own path of inner cultivation. But first, let me ask you a few questions. What if the universe is not made of matter at all? What if everything, space, time, galaxies, atoms, even your own body, is just an interface inside a single cosmic consciousness? And what if the Big Bang was not simply a physical explosion, but the first thought of that consciousness? At first, this may sound mystical, but something remarkable has been happening over the past century. Some of the greatest scientific minds in modern history have begun to question the assumption that matter is the foundation of reality. The founder of quantum theory, Max Planck, once wrote, "I regard consciousness as fundamental. I regard matter as derivative from consciousness." In other words, matter may not be the ultimate layer of reality. Consciousness might be. Another pioneer of quantum physics, Erwin Schrödinger, came to a similar conclusion. He suggested that consciousness is fundamentally one. What appears to be billions of separate minds may actually be one universal consciousness, looking through billions of different viewpoints. Imagine the ocean forming countless waves. Each wave appears separate, but every wave is still the same water. Then there is the theoretical physicist John Archibald Wheeler. He proposed the idea of a participatory universe. In his view, reality is not a fully formed machine existing independently of observers. Instead, the act of observation plays a role in bringing reality into existence. In Wheeler's famous phrase, "The universe is participatory." Reality is not simply out there. It emerges through interaction with awareness. Now let's move from physics to cognitive science. Cognitive scientist Donald Hoffman proposes something called the interface theory of perception. His research suggests something profoundly counterintuitive. The world we perceive is not reality itself. It is an interface. Think about your computer desktop. When you see a blue folder icon, you are not seeing the actual file. You are seeing a symbol designed to help you interact with something deeper. The icon is useful, but it is not the truth. According to Hoffman, evolution did not shape our senses to perceive objective reality. It shaped our senses to perceive what is useful for survival. So what we see, space, objects, colors, even time, may simply be the icons of reality, not the underlying structure. Philosopher Bernardo Kastrup has developed a philosophical framework that fits this idea. He calls it analytic idealism. In this view, the universe is not made of matter. It is made of mind. Individual minds like yours and mine are not separate substances. They are localized processes within a vast field of consciousness. Like whirlpools in a river. Each whirlpool appears distinct, but the water is the same. At this point, some people may say, "Wait a moment. Isn't this just like the Matrix?" Perhaps. Others may say something even more interesting. Isn't this exactly what ancient philosophy has been saying for thousands of years? In many ways, yes. More than 2,500 years ago, the Taoist sage Lao Tzu began the Tao Te Ching, with a profound statement. The Tao that can be spoken is not the eternal Tao. Why would the ultimate reality be impossible to describe? Because language is designed to describe objects. But the Tao is not an object. It is the source from which all objects arise. In Buddhism, a similar insight appears in the concept of shunyata, emptiness. Emptiness does not mean nothingness. It means that all forms arise from a deeper, boundless ground that cannot be grasped as a thing. So across quantum physics, cognitive science, modern philosophy, and ancient wisdom, a strange possibility keeps appearing. Maybe consciousness is not produced by the brain. Maybe the brain is simply an interface within consciousness. Maybe consciousness is not something inside the universe. Maybe consciousness is the universe itself. And if that is true, then something extraordinary follows. To truly understand this idea is not merely a philosophical exercise. It is the key to understanding what Taoist cultivation is really about. When Lao Tzu speaks of the Tao, he is not describing a god. He is not describing a force. He is pointing to the fundamental ground of existence, the infinite, unborn, ever-present reality from which everything arises. In Taoist internal cultivation, this fundamental awareness is sometimes called the original spirit. In Chinese, Yuan Shen. The original spirit is not the thinking mind. It is not the personality. It is the deeper awareness behind all thoughts, behind all perceptions, behind the entire interface of body, mind, and world. From the Taoist perspective, most human beings live entirely inside the interface. We identify with the body. We identify with thoughts. We identify with emotions. But these are all surface processes. They are the moving waves, not the ocean itself. Taoist cultivation is therefore not about believing something. It is about directly discovering the consciousness behind the interface. The awareness that never comes into existence and never disappears. The awareness that is always present before thought arises, before perception forms, before the mind names anything. In Taoist language, this is returning to the original spirit, returning to the Tao. And this is why Lao Tzu said something so paradoxical. Returning is the movement of the Tao. The path of Taoist cultivation is not about gaining something new. It is about returning to what has always been here, the still awareness behind every experience. So perhaps the greatest discovery is not hidden in distant galaxies. It is not buried in the mathematics of quantum theory. It is not locked inside a particle accelerator. The greatest mystery is the one thing that has been present in every moment of your life. The silent awareness, reading these words right now. Before every thought, before every identity, before the entire interface of reality. That awareness may be closer to the truth of the universe than anything we have ever measured. And perhaps, that awareness is exactly what the ancient sages called the Tao. So when we put all of this together, modern physics, cognitive science, philosophy, and the wisdom of the ancients, a very different picture of reality begins to emerge. Maybe the universe is not a machine made of matter. Maybe it is more like a vast field of consciousness. And what we call space, time, and physical objects are simply the interface through which that consciousness experiences itself. If that is true, then the Tao that Lao Tzu spoke about may not be some mysterious force outside the universe. It may be the very ground of awareness itself, the silent presence behind every thought, the stillness behind every perception, the thing that is aware of your mind right now. And from a Taoist perspective, cultivation is not about adopting beliefs or building complicated philosophies. It is about something much simpler, but also much deeper. It is about learning to look behind the interface, behind the noise of thoughts, behind the stories we tell about ourselves, and slowly rediscovering the quiet, boundless awareness that was always there. Taoist cultivation, in its essence, is simply the process of returning. Returning from the surface of the interface to the source of consciousness itself. Returning from the restless waves back to the ocean. And when that return begins to happen, you may realize something surprising. The Tao was never far away. It was never hidden in some distant place. It has always been here, as the awareness through which the entire universe is being experienced right now. Before we end this video, I'd love to hear what you think. Do you believe consciousness is something produced by the brain, or could it be the fundamental ground of reality itself? If our senses are only showing us an interface of reality, as some scientists suggest, what do you think might exist behind that interface? Could the ancient idea of the Tao be pointing to the same underlying reality that modern science is only beginning to explore? And if consciousness really is the foundation of the universe, what might that mean for the way we live, the way we see ourselves, and the way we practice inner cultivation? Most importantly, have you ever experienced a moment of pure awareness? A moment where the mind becomes quiet, and you feel something deeper than thoughts and emotions? If you have, what did that experience feel like? Was it just a brain state? Or could it be a glimpse of the deeper consciousness behind the interface of reality? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd really love to hear how you understand consciousness, the Tao, and the interface of reality.